Hi, we have a very serious topic at the moment, and to present that we have Genevieve Quirk, who is the National Oceans Campaigner for Greenpeace Australia.
Yeah, it's good to be in your kitchen.
Let's refresh everyone's memory about what Greenpeace does.
Of course, we're an independent and global campaigning organisation.
You have no funding from the government?
No funding from government, no funding from corporates. In fact, the way that we change attitudes and behaviours towards conservation of the environment and toward a more peaceful future is because of the donations of our supporters.
We are getting on touchy ground here because you know everyone knows about our global shortage of tuna and
Yes.
and the way that our oceans are being fished and the incredible damage, long-term damage that's been done to the aquatic environment. And so this is a very big issue, and yet we all have this insatiable appetite for tuna. Maybe if we find out more about what's happening out there that's really serious, we can make some other decisions.
Greenpeace has brought out their canned tuna guide, and you can now see in your supermarkets which tuna brands are more sustainable than others. This is about consumers, when they're walking down the shopping aisle, being able to make a better choice when it does come to tuna. The brand that came out on the top was Greenseas.
Okay, why is that?
Because they label their can with skipjack tuna, and that is one species that's still quite sustainable, and they provide information about how it's caught.
It's not just about the kind of tuna, but it's also about the fishing methods as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the netting and everything.
We've got a photo here, and you can see a huge amount of tuna in the net, and the nets that they use to fish it can be as big as city blocks.
Yeah.
And when they encircle a school of tuna,
They just vacuum everything else up in between,
it's
don't they?
Sharks, it's endangered turtles. So the tuna that goes in your can can actually be killing these sharks and endangered turtles at the same time.
Is there a correlation between people that buy home brands and endangered fishing?
I see what you're asking, and with the Greenpeace Canned Tuna Guide, you can actually see which of the home brands performed well and not so well. And some of the worst that we have are actually the home brands. For example, IGA and SPA performed very poorly. They provide no information about the species and no information about how it's caught. Most is caught. We're using destructive fishing methods. In fact, all the tuna in this guide use destructive fishing methods that kill sharks and turtles, with one exception, and that's Aldi's product. And Aldi have brought out a tuna that uses selective fishing technique. But unfortunately, they've brought that out on a species that's overfished.
If the public, do have a conscience and they want to find out which canned tuna brands are the most sustainable towards the environment, all they have to do is get onto your website, which I guess is what, greenpeace.org?
You've got it, Greenpeace Australia website, and we've got a cyber action where they can let Australian supermarkets know that they don't want to be sold overfished tuna or tuna that uses destructive fishing methods. These are 4 areas that we'd like to see closed to fishing, and this year, high seas areas 1 and 2, in between these Pacific Island countries, has been declared an area where no fishing by purse seiners can occur.
Because apparently there's an enormous amount of illegal fishing happening, isn't there?
Oh, there's so much pirate fishing happening. In the Pacific, it's nearly 46%. We take our ship out each year, and you can see what we've found. This is 2 Taiwanese ships that were laundering fish out of the Pacific that we busted, another pirate vessel. And here you can see from our work that we found longliners that had trapped a turtle that we released while we were out at sea.
Because obviously, like a lot of these third world countries, that are fishing illegally, I mean, they're not exactly going to have a conscience. They're not going to be worried about all these other, marine life that they're affecting.
I think with the huge areas of the Pacific, the countries there simply don't have the funds to look after these huge amount of waters
areas
in the Pacific.
It's almost like, could that be done via satellite, for example?
Yes, there are surveillance systems by satellite, but it's being able to apprehend them at sea that Greenpeace has done with surveillance with Pacific Island countries in the past, and it's certainly something that we want to do in the future.
I heard on TV that they're saying that the world will run out of tuna in the next 20 to 50 years. Is that true?
The scientific paper says by 2048 that will be the end of fish.
Wow.
Because the way we're fishing, the stocks are in decline and there won't be any left soon. It's Taiwan, Korea, Japan, the EU and US who are all, because the stocks of tuna have been exhausted in their own waters, heading to the Pacific, and they're exploiting the resources of these Pacific Island countries. And that ends up in our can.
Yeah.
On our
and then we
supermarket
consume
shelves.
it, we blindly consume.
We can now make a better choice with the Greenpeace Canned Tuna Guide. We have people in the Solomon Islands and they're pole and line fishing, and this is the most sustainable technique. Greenpeace actually has 75 million cans on pre-order for pole and line caught Pacific skipjack tuna. This is really great for the Pacific Island countries and fantastic for consumers who want a product that is sustainable.
And what have we got here? This is a bit of a sad scenario. This is a small shark being caught here.
Yes, and in the Pacific, about 1 million sharks are taken each year. So this is one that's been hooked on a long line.
And what will happen to that actual shark? Would that be, do they just chop their tails off for shark fin soup and then get rid of the rest of the animal?
Usually that's what they do. While they're still alive, they take the fins off and send them back in the ocean.
That's terrible.
Yes.
Eventually we won't have any sharks. And then also, we don't know how much damage getting rid of one species affects all the others. It's like a domino effect, isn't it?
This is exactly right. And we've already lost 90% of our top predators. That's sharks, tuna, marlin. And so we're eating our way down the food web. And we really need to start fishing in a sustainable way and start choosing a sustainable tuna. We're looking at the end of fish if we don't change our ways.
All right, I saw in this documentary that in Japan they're starting to try and farm a lot of these breeds of fish, but they're finding it very difficult.
Yes, and I guess the problem with farmed fish is that they eat fish. So for example, bluefin tuna, when you farm it, for 1 kilo of bluefin tuna to be raised on a farm, it's 20 kilos of wild fish that's taken from the sea to feed them.
That's incredible.
It's just not sustainable.
Wow, okay, that's a very serious subject, but Genevieve Quirk from Greenpeace Australia, the National Oceans Campaigner, thank you for coming in.
Thanks so much. I hope
Pleasure.
people can check out our website and sign on for the cyber action for the right canned tuna to be on our supermarket shelves.
Brilliant. And as we said, the website is greenpeace.org.
Yes.
Is there an AU at the end or just .org?
Either works.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you for coming in.
Thanks so much, Yanni.
Thanks. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.